So I think I want to reflect on Everstream, or Explorys versus Everstream, which was actually the third company. And that, some of the things that happened for us were a little bit of serendipity, but the key was that when we got involved, we came in to be mentored. We came in, said, look, we don't know a lot about healthcare, we don't know a lot about technology, big data, but teach us about healthcare, and we'll find a way to bring real value together. So I think the keys, when I think back on it, that were defining for us were, one, we had a good set of core values and an environment that was driven by empowerment. What we call the blue bloods on the East Coast, that had a year ahead of us jump. We brought them past them pretty fast because we had a very empowered team that really did thinking, strategy, execution. It was fantastic. The second was we redefined value, enterprise value. We defined it on what we call now data the new crude oil. So we started to recognize that data was a very valuable intellectual property IP, and then the tacit knowledge developed from that. It was clearly an export and an opportunity to drive and generate value and revenue. So that's when we had one slide when we talked about our second investors and said, we'll amass 50 million lives of data, we'll create 500 million in shareholder value. That was our pitch to the investment team, and they fell for it. So, but it really didn't work. The multiples were in the range of where we exited, and so what was interesting is that we're starting to recognize that we're moving into an information society, that things are pivoting, and they're pivoting fast towards data and human intellectual property, not hard assets. So that was we're on the front end of that.
Sam, 60 seconds. I've got a lot of things that parallel what Steve said, so I won't focus on those, but I do find it interesting that most entrepreneurs I meet for the first time think there's a very common success to, startup to success story, which probably goes like this. There's an idea hatched in Cleveland, it's in a perfect green field, it's so novel there's no competition, there's a garage late night ramen noodle phase after the NCAF funding, then maybe they start to sell to small businesses. They might not be able to get enough funding and they have to move to the coast. Eventually they get to scale and they do a really studied exercise and they decide whether to be acquired or to go public. And the flash sheet story is the inverse of that, precisely. In 2006, Dan Gilbert and I got together and had one idea in mind to transform ticketing. We found a patent and an inventor in California that was languishing without funding. We bought the patent and brought it here. We went into a market that was not only not a green field, it was dominated by monopoly. Ticketmaster had a 93% share. But we frankly thought that was an advantage. Monopolies have no incentive to innovate and it's very hard to turn. So we saw that as much as a green field as a competitive market. We decided to go after the biggest and most sophisticated customers first, which often is not the strategy, but for us, we believed that we could create the most value for them. So we went after the bigs first. And we didn't give ourselves the time for garage, late night ramen noodle because it was May of 2006. And in sports and live entertainment ticketing, how many of you used flash seats? Great. How many of you, we started this, we hatched this in May of 2006, and we decided that we better capture the full NBA season. So we gave ourselves 5 months to go from a patented PowerPoint to a live system. How many of you were among the season ticket holders who on October 17th, 2006 used flash seats for the first time? Anybody? So 4,300 brave season ticket holders decided to forego paper tickets, sight unseen, and use it 5 months after we decided to do this. So that was kind of fun. We spent the next 6 years attacking the monopoly, and we took 24% share from Ticketmaster. And then we decided to go down market. We went into smaller, more simpler products, so for conference colleges and middle market venues and non-conference colleges and theaters and small clubs. And we had our sights set, Steve mentioned a metric. And we had our sights set on a few metrics and we were going public, we knew it. Right? So we had some good numbers, 9 million active users on any given day, $2 billion a year in commerce. We had the largest venue in the US at LA Staples Center and the largest venue in Europe of the O2 and thousands of others. And then a funny thing happened. We got a call at the beginning of 2014, and it was an offer for the company. And we said, interesting, thanks, we're on track to go public. A year later, they called back with a better offer, and we said, that's great, thanks. And then a year later, they were persistent, they called back and we said, very nice, thank you very much. And so this is kind of the antithesis of the traditional story, and our story rather than, went the opposite, right? Hatched in California, capitalized here, publicized here, aimed at the middle market, aimed into a competitive market, and unexpected sale by an unplanned suitor.
Well, I would say we're kind of the opposite of that. The idea was hatched here. It was really about solving a problem we had, and my co-founder and partner, Rod Carmen, is right here, without whom I would never be sitting here. So I would say that's a big part of the success, a great partnership, and a joint vision and complementary relationship, without which I never took credit for the success, actually. It was a team effort, and I had phenomenal people working for me across the world, and that was, I would say, the thing that I walked away from most proud of, actually. That we were able to build an incredible group of like-minded people across 20 countries in 5 continents, with 700 employees that were incredibly distributed. But the idea that we came up with, which was to solve the problem people went in without knowing when a cable guy would arrive, was really just the sort of germ of what we did. But I would sort of credit a lot of the success to a deep analysis of where technology was at the time, and understanding that there was really a tectonic shift that was happening in a certain part of the technological world. And Ron and I spent many, many days, nights, we didn't eat ramen, and months and years really thinking about what is the sort of more seminal shift in technology that was happening at that time. And that was really the move from sort of client server to cloud. And the word cloud hadn't actually been coined yet, and neither was SaaS. We were just doing web-based software. But we did something that was pretty bold, which was to think about web-based software as something that would completely replace enterprise software the way it was sold in before. And in that, we kind of reinvented the whole form. I think it was an incredible amount of self-confidence in the partnership and in our vision for where we actually thought technology was going. In 2003, we were selling we were actually already selling to large customers. I think that was the other part. The bold thinking, the idea that you don't start, you can start small, but you have to think big. You have to actually tackle an incredibly big problem, and you have to set aside your fears that you're going to fail. Because if you let those actually rule the roost, then you're not going to get anywhere. And we were from Cleveland, and we were proud that we were from Cleveland. It actually turned out to be a great icebreaker for us everywhere we went. The first thing everyone asked us was, why Cleveland? And we said, when we were going to write the story of TOA, that it was going to be called Why Cleveland. But we knew why Cleveland, because we had an incredibly supportive community here. There was a lot of hunger for success. Starting with Tom Sudo, I don't know where you are, you're still here, Tom? And going all the way through our investors throughout, who stayed with us throughout. So part of the whole thing was obviously saying that we could build something that was global. And it was out-of-the-box global thinking. We thought we could do something that would be relevant in Australia, in Romania, in Canada, as well as in Latin America. And I think that was those were the different sort of aspects of what made TOA successful. Teamwork, bold vision, no fear, and a great confluence of events and a little bit of luck.
And can I thank you for the fact that the cable guy gets there?
Yeah, I'd say I would definitely take credit for the fact that today the window is less than an hour.
Well, we all thank you for that. Good luck. So, Steve, question for you. You mentioned that there was another prominent East Coast team with a year head start. There were probably 50 companies in this space working at this kind of solution that all wanted to partner with the global institution like the clinic, that all had an exit slide that had IBM Watson on that slide. Why did you win? Right? Why did Explorys win? Are there one or two things you can point to that you think made the difference for why ultimately you were successful the way you were, and why IBM said we need to have this company as part of our approach?
You know, well, they were out of Harvard, so they were disadvantaged on that one. You know, we were scrappers. I mean, that's the way we were known. We were the Midwest scrappers. We were proud to be from Cleveland as well. And so I think that carried a lot. And probably one of the most important things is that we had a meaningful purpose. We really worked hard on a purpose. And the purpose was unlocking the power of big data to improve healthcare for everyone. And that purpose had a great mission to it as well, which means we had to focus on those that we call the underserved, like the term, but the situation. But that meant we had to take on responsibility that was much greater than just trying to be profitable. We had to be responsible, and we had to be passionate about it. So we had to drive from that place. It was incredibly powerful to drop churn on our employees, and our retention was stellar. We were under tremendous pressure from the left coast and the right coast from our, we were pioneering and growing these engineers from scratch, age-based, and then data scientists. We've got 22 of the best data scientists in the world still sitting over level superior that we grew from, as I call them, babies, but they're masters of data science. And so, but they stayed. That was the key. They had, we looked for people with Midwest values, and we looked for people that were aligned to a purpose versus carrying a cool Google card. And they were offering $50,000 and $100,000 signing bonuses, and obviously big comp, but of course they weren't going to look at the cost of living out there. But that was fundamental to us. Our team stayed together, we stayed focused, we had great leadership. My partners here, Charlie, and I don't know what you mentioned earlier, and we were able to align them in a way that we had stability, focus, and tremendous speed. And then with that, the empowerment with our core values, accountability and ethics, and those three core values allowed us to settle on who we were, not what we did. Because we knew we were going to have to pivot, but we had to have a fully intellectualized team that was engaged, so that when we saw pivots coming, it could come from any direction, because all eyes were open and all eyes were engaged, all minds were engaged, so we would see things that we had to move towards or shift before the competitors did. And so I think that was fundamental. A lot of it was culture.
Staying on the topic of people, to Sam, because investors, we all say it's about the jockey, not the horse. We invest in teams. In reality, though, you were the jockey. You built this team. What do you know now about putting together and leading a team that can ultimately get to the promised land as a startup?
Yeah, I had the benefit of some spectacular misses in the very first company, 4 companies ago, right? I mean, we did a nationwide search for, you've all said that cloud wasn't a word, and way back 30 years ago, data centers weren't a word, but we had this big facility we were putting a bunch of computers into, and we needed somebody to run it. We did our first nationwide search and had 30 people in, and found the right candidate. It was beautiful. He had the right pedigree, the right experience. He really wanted this step up in his job, and he came in, and 3 weeks after he got there, he came to me and said, I've convinced my old boss to give me my job back. And then, of course, by that time, the number 2 and 3 candidates had accepted other positions, and we were basically back to square one. I'm a biochemist by degree and an empiricist by nature, and I said, I got to find out what went wrong here. And remember, this is pre-internet, so I went to the library and started to look at things that were hidden in social psychology and industrial labor relations, and discovered what is now nicely packaged, by the way, in organizational behavior, with a lot of the seminal work done at the Weatherhead School here, and discovered the following, right? The best predictor of an individual's longevity with an organization and the best predictor of a high-performing team is cultural alignment. And not something soft and squishy culture, something very specific. Culture meaning a set of common values, a set of behaviors that support those values, and an environment that is supportive of those behaviors. And this is very evident in the research literature. I don't know how it didn't make its way for many years into the business literature. But I went right back, and since then, the first company after that, and every company since, has had an articulated culture. And it achieved exactly what Steve said. When people come in, we don't talk about anything, even what the business is, before we talk about the culture. If you're not aligned, you don't. Studies say 2/3 of the people who will automatically select out of the process if they're not culturally aligned.
They do.
They know, right? So we say it's not about who's right. It's about what's right. Right? If you're about who's right, you don't come aboard. We have a bias toward action. If you like to, our value there is do something. If you like to wait around for permission, you don't come aboard. So the managed culture, the articulated culture, is frankly the secret to a high-performing collaborative team. And if you have that, you have almost everything necessary to win. We know what happens if you don't have that. It's an 0-16 season.
I actually want to follow up on that, Sam. You know, we had a team around the world, and the first thing we did, we had this idea that the first thing we did, it was like you're birthing a new child every time you're hiring a new employee, actually. And that we would say, the first thing you want to do is actually put them on the mother's belly. And in our case, it was actually bringing people here to Cleveland before they even, set out and did anything. And spent 2 weeks here talking to us, listening to our culture, first thing talking about culture and about values. That was the first thing we did for the first 2 days. And then, really getting people to be sort of marinated in the culture and the juice of the organization. Didn't matter whether they were working in Australia or they were working in Latin America or in Europe or anywhere in the United States. The first thing we did was bring them here, put them on our belly, so to speak, hug them and then give them culture and then really take them through a very rigorous training program, which was to give them all the tools they needed to actually do their job well, without any reservations or any sort of holding back anything in terms of that. So I think that was when people we knew that after they left here that they were really tied with an umbilical cord to the organization, and they wouldn't they would speak the same language. It doesn't matter if they were speaking Portuguese in Brazil or or German in Germany or Spanish in Spain. It didn't really matter.
Yuval, we'll stay with you. We saw some great companies and great slides earlier tonight, and a lot of them have what we optimistically think is the beginning of a hockey stick, right? Many quarter-over-quarters of growth. You saw that develop into a full-fledged hockey stick. So outside of the numbers, what did you see going on at the company, in sales, with your customers that told you this thing was real, this had legs, and it would continue to scale?
Well, first thing, it wasn't immediate. It took time. It was a good, I would say, 4 or 5 years before we actually started seeing that, because a hockey stick has this first. And people think it goes like this, but it actually doesn't go like this. It actually goes like that. So first thing you have as investors, you need to have a lot of perseverance and patience to see the companies through their first sort of stage, because they're going to go through a lot of missteps. And as the way you described, the hiring of people, obviously there's always surprises, and there's never, it's not 100% hire. In fact, the percentages are quite low, and you have to get used to that. So that's the first thing. I think the perseverance of getting through that first step to get to the hockey stick. But I think when I think about how TOA got to a place where we started feeling that we were onto something the minute that the very first customer was the very first big customer, which was really customer number 3, which was Charter Communications. Got excited about seeing what we had. that they really gave us a sense that we were onto something that nobody else had brought to them before. And, you know, and really sort of injected us with another, you know, sort of shot of adrenaline into what we already knew what we were up against. There was something there because we were solving an acute customer service problem. But it was really the fact that we started being, you know, attracting the right kind of talent to actually work with us, alongside the success that customers were seeing. And ultimately, the real measure, and this was enterprise software, was when customers started selling for us. That was the true moment that we knew we were onto something huge, because the minute we stopped having to actually sell and we could bring customers, just tell customers, just call that guy. And that guy would say, why don't you come over to see me and I can tell you what great, you know, what are the great things that we're doing with TOA, and what are the enormous results that we actually have, and how much of a return on investment we're seeing. And our, you know, and when the customer, I really knew it when our sort of largest customer and closest customer, which was Dish Network, when the guy, you know, when the head of customer operations of Dish, who is now the CEO and credits his success with TOA to being the CEO of Dish Network, said to me, "You got to pay me a commission, because, you know, every customer comes through here, and, you know, and we are selling for you, and we love selling for you." So that was really the key moment for us to understand that we were that the machine was actually working without us. The customers were selling themselves.
So Sam, you talk to a lot of entrepreneurs, mentor a lot of entrepreneurs. What do you wish they knew? What's the hardest thing to communicate about what you know that you hope they'll internalize to ultimately have a better chance of being successful?
You're not your customer. Most entrepreneurs are subject matter experts. They love the discipline they're in. They're willing to go the extra mile to interact with their own product, and they don't understand that nobody cares. and I mean, it's really true. And so to say to them, look, the idea is only as good as the first experiment to figure out if anybody's interested. And you've got to get out and find out what your customer actually cares about, which is probably not your product. And make sure that you understand how to talk to your customer in a way that makes them understand how the product can create value, and then, frankly, understand individual behavior and organizational behavior, so that you understand how to motivate them to buy. Just because they see value doesn't mean they're going to buy. And I think that's the biggest thing, and I state it that way all the time. I really enjoy mentoring entrepreneurs. I had a lot of help the first time I started a business, and I really like to mentor entrepreneurs. And that's the hardest thing to get across. You're not your customer. Your customer's not like you. If we can get over that hump, and they can say, "I'm willing to see the world as it is," it's reasonably smooth sailing after that.
So, Steve, oftentimes investors and groups will talk about inclusion. And looking up here, we're talking to 3 white guys who are roughly in their 50s. For us to be successful, not just as a region in terms of identifying and providing opportunity for the best and brightest entrepreneurs, but also for us to be successful as a fund by not missing great people and opportunity to get behind and support. Are there some things you think we should be doing more of, or some things we just have to stop doing to help make sure that we are as broad and approachable and inclusive as we can be?
We'll start with the new requirement target for the quota for the North Coast Annual Fund. 52% have to be young, minority, women in the investment. So let's start with that. So that's the new standard. If anybody doesn't want to buy in on that, then here's another thought. So, you know, I think it's about starting to look at this emerging economy differently. There's so much opportunity here. As it's become an information-based economy, a knowledge-based economy, the opportunity now is to take the main sectors that drive it, right? Private, public, nonprofit, look at it more as a system and a network, understanding where the dislocation happens, and then look at it and say, okay, what's our part? We can do this now, there's technology to do it. And then let's start investing specifically at very early ages into the demographics that we're talking about that have tremendous, tremendous resources, natural resources, and that's human resources. And we're struggling. We need these resources in our economy. We need them. And so we gotta go invest in it. And we have to make a wholesale commitment to it. We make that commitment to invest early, and I mean pre-K, pre-concept. Prepare our environment for those on the way. We can pipeline them into these opportunities. Some will want to move towards entrepreneurship. Some will want to, move into other jobs that are involved in the environment right now that aren't getting filled. But we're just not investing. We don't plan. We don't work from a systems perspective, and we can do it now. It's possible to do it. So that's the alternative to the 7 employees.
Well, one of the things, when we sold flash sheets Veritix, my employees gave me a little calligraphy that they said was the thing I said most often, which is words matter. And I want to call out one word that you said, Todd, and hold it up, because the way I often hear this question asked is, what do we need to do in order to solve the problem of a bunch of old white guys, right, sitting up on this stage? And I have the good fortune to chair a nonprofit called Minds Matter. So young, low-income, inner-city high schoolers who want to go to college apply at the end of their freshman year. And what they're applying to is a program of 30 Saturdays a year of extra support. So basically an extra school day a year for 3 years. Over 10 years, a 100% success rate in getting these kids into selected colleges, right? And from school districts that matriculate on average 14% of college. But here's the point. These kids are hungry for opportunity. They'll commit themselves to 30 extra days a year. And it's not about us needing to do something. It's about us saying, what are we failing to take advantage of in the regional economy if we are allowing, especially our school districts, to disproportionately disadvantage minorities, or to exclude, because of really unconscious but institutionalized structured discrimination, women from the ranks. And I will tell you, the Northeast economy will be in a lot better position if we do this. And it's not a need to, it's a we should have want to, have to. That's exactly right.
And it's got to be at scale.
That's
So
right.
if you look at your model of work, okay, you need 900 million to do it at scale, we'll get our money back.
Yeah,
Guaranteed.
yeah, absolutely.
We'll get it back.
Absolutely.
It's worth an investment.
That's right.
Don't have to make it charity.
So Yuval, we'll shift back to you here. Quite a ride. 700 people, that's a lot of mouths to feed, right? People with families who ultimately count on you. I think we tend to focus a lot of times on how much fun this thing is, how exciting it is. How terrifying is it, though, in reality, to be potentially on this path, potentially driving 100 miles per hour to a brick wall, and perhaps not knowing the difference yourself, let alone all these other people who are counting on you, who are enthusiastic and really planning on success in the future?
Hitchcock was nothing. It's a daily struggle, actually. Because first thing, no 2 days are the same. And so you can't plan what's going to happen tomorrow. You can't get up in the morning and kind of have a sense of how your day is going to look. Every day is different, and maybe that's part of the beauty of it and what makes it so attractive to a lot of people, is that there's no, preset routine that you're in. But, I mean, for me, it was always about really it was always about commitment. And the commitment was really trifold. It was the commitment to the customers, to the employees, and to the investors. And there was a deep sense of desire to actually realize each person's potential. And I'm talking about all those three groups. And so, yes, every single day, you know, you would encounter new things, and it was always scary because you were running against, you know, the clock, and literally, money was flowing out. You know, you had to make the numbers and also continuously fill up the coffers, and yet there was always a sense of gratitude and satisfaction in the fact that we were actually achieving our sort of I wouldn't say our goals, because there's always that. You know, the goals were set, but sometimes you made them, sometimes you didn't. But you had a clear vision of where you wanted to go, and we had a clear vision. So that helped us overcome a lot of the terror. But you know, the thing that's I think most interesting when I look back on it is that it didn't stop until the last moment. I mean, we have stories to tell that literally on the day of acquisition, we were still fighting, you know, fires in the organization and with the acquirer. And in fact, you know, we had a huge part of our team in Ukraine. It was the summer of 2014, and the war in Ukraine was raging. I don't know if you guys remember that, but it was kind of a Putin, you know, incursion into Ukraine. And we had all of our technology team in Ukraine. And so this is after a 10-year ride that Iran was in Iran. And, you know, we used to go to Ukraine and say, oh, no natural enemies here. You know, in the days that, you know, everybody was talking about Al-Qaeda and stuff. And then one day, the day that Oracle called us to want to buy the company is the day that Putin decided that he wanted to actually, you know, invade the country where we had all of our technology. And so after 10 years of a journey that every day was a struggle, we finally got to the acquirer that we knew in advance was going to acquire us. So that may be another question of yours. But we had, you know, a vision of the exit from day one. And Iran and I said to each other from day one, it's going to be Oracle. And when Oracle called, it was like, hi, we were waiting for your call. and the crazy part was, after 10 years of waiting for that call, our whole brain was, you know, the people who ran our business in a way, because we had a software as a service business, it was all about technology. We're sitting in a country that was at war. And so we went through this whole acquisition process telling them, no, they're okay. You know, there aren't any tanks in the street. Don't worry, it's only, the Russian border is really far, it's 40 miles away. And that culminated with the day that they told us, you know, we're taking this to Larry Ellison for approval. And we were sitting waiting in our office to hear from the M&A team at Oracle. And I see on my computer a little, you know, New York Times alert come down that a Malaysian jet had just been downed over Ukraine. And I say to Rod, who's sitting across from me, kind of working on due diligence, I don't get it. Like, it said Malaysian jet down. And I said, wow, that's weird. That Malaysian jet was lost like 6 months ago. Why is the New York Times talking about that right now? And I click it, and I look at him, and I say, you wouldn't believe this. And in fact, that was literally, you know, on the day that the decision was supposed to be made. Of course, it was postponed. So we had to wait another 2 full weeks wondering, you know, when are the people at Oracle going to have the courage to go and give this to Larry Ellison and tell him, oh, and by the way, we're buying a company where all its technology is in Ukraine. So, you know, they did it, by the way. Luckily, he had a Ukrainian girlfriend. It's true. And quite pretty. But he bought the most amazing technology he could have ever bought, you know, in TOA. And even we just met, where I know these guys just went out to California, Rod's still working at Oracle. And in customer surveys that Oracle just conducted, we were the most popular, we were the most satisfied product in all of Oracle's portfolio, right? And this is already 4 years after the acquisition. That's the story of being in, you know, at the helm of a startup. It's all the way and all the time, and and 24/7, and there's nothing expected, and it's to the last minute. But hey, we survived.
Well, we're going to do a few lightning round questions, and then happy to collect any cards if anyone has additional questions or questions by the bar, because the bar is open until 9:30. So lightning round is a really easy question. The Northeast Ohio entrepreneurial system needs more
Entrepreneurs.
Information velocity.
Money.
Speaking of money, what's the biggest impediment to getting more angel investors in the game?
So I don't have a clue. I'm not a B2C kind of person, but I first thought we should market the fact that we're making money at this. I think there's some folklore out there that angel investors is a loser. I don't know. It doesn't necessarily provide it. I think that maybe the message is wrong in the investment community that angel's too high risk, because it's just not true. It's a great opportunity.
I'm going to riff on information velocity. This room is great. There are 4 times this many angel investors who weren't in the room, and we need to get a hub together where we can get opportunities out and success stories in.
Okay. So when entrepreneurs pitch you, what's the biggest mistake they make?
More than 5 slides and more than 2-page summary.
They pitch a product, not a business.
They don't present enough of the big vision. Yeah.
Do you watch Shark Tank, and is it realistic?
I don't watch it.
Unrealistic but great entertainment.
Great entertainment, but scary.
So you've all had substantive exits. In retrospect, scale of 1 to 10, how important is it to have an exit strategy? I think you may have answered this, Yuval.
Well, I mean, I think it's important, at least if you want to get a meaningful exit, that you understand your market size. That's the most, you have to understand the potential market and have somewhat of a view towards achieving a reasonable percentage of it, and the exit will come from there. We didn't have the prediction, although we had organizations and all kinds of that stuff going on, but we didn't really know who was going to acquire us, but we knew that if we scaled, one of the big guys would take a stock.
Yeah, exitable company, yes. Exit strategy at the angel stage, can't be.
Yeah.
And I mean, though we knew who was going to buy us, we didn't build a company to be bought. We built a company to, provide phenomenal customer service, to grow revenue, and to, achieve results for the investors. That brought the acquirer. That wasn't, the strategy wasn't to build it to buy, to sell it. It was to build it to make it a great company for its employees and its customers and investors.
One blog or book recommendation for all of us?
Leadership is an Art by Max Dupree.
Misbehaving by Richard Thaler.
The Hard Thing About Hard Things by Ben Horowitz.
So, last question. What was the most fun part of the whole journey? Whether it was a single moment, a single day, a realization, what was that moment?
Oh, I got one. All right, I'll start. Took me a minute. It was what Charlie and I called the Forrest Gump moment. We were riding around in a bus in Chicago, and we started looking around and realizing that we were surrounded by 24 CEOs that added up to about 80 billion in revenue of health systems. We just looked at each other and said, "It's another one of those Forrest Gump moments. This is unbelievable." But we found ourselves. We came into healthcare. We didn't know anything about banking and telecom. A couple years later, we're riding around the bus and in Chicago with all these CEOs, and they're taking us under their wing and having a blast with us. So it was just quite an experience.
Unequivocally, the best moments are when people come up and say, thanks to that exit, my kids got to go to college. And that's been the best thing for me. There are a lot of people who say, I'm glad for this, that, and the other thing. When I know that because we've worked together as a team and we've had an exit, people can educate their kids, there's no better moment for me.
We had a lot of great moments. Of course, that was the best in a way. Having people who look back on the journey and say, it was worth it, and thank you. But we had a moment in 2012 where we took over Dreamforce in San Francisco. We came with this hippie theme, let the sun shine in, and here comes the sun. And we rebranded ourselves completely in kind of the 60s theme, and put up billboards on the 101, and nobody ever heard of us. People who'd never heard of us before, suddenly knew that there was a TOA out there, and the sort of penultimate moment was when the Dreamforce people and I don't know if you know what Dreamforce is, but it's really the largest technology event in the world. The Dreamforce organizers came to us and said, could you tone it down a little? You're overshadowing us.
I think we're going to probably transition the rest of the Q&A to the bar, but we want to thank the three of you for joining us tonight. This was an awesome and candid. Our entrepreneurs who presented and those who just joined us tonight, our members. This was a lot of fun. Appreciate everyone's ongoing support and encouragement, and we'll look forward to more great things to come in 2018. Thank you.